Your tools for modeling with the 3ds Max Entertainment Creation Suite will mainly be found in 3ds Max and Mudbox. 3ds Max is renowned for its advanced polygon toolset. This toolset is mostly located in the Graphite user interface that was introduced in Max 2010 and that we have continued to enhance with 3ds Max 2011. In this new release, we've made it much more customizable so that you can create your own panels and arrange the whole interface to fit your own modeling preferences. What's great about the Graphite user interface is that if you are in learning mode, you'll see that all the tools have advanced visual tooltips that will help you understand what everything does. You can even play videos now so that you can see the tools in context. But if you don't need those tooltips, just disable them. But at the heart of 3ds Max modeling is the polygon toolset itself. That's what will make a huge difference and make you creative and very productive. Just in 3ds Max 2010, we've introduced more than 100 new tools for modeling on top of what we already had. This arsenal of tools might sound overwhelming, but believe me when I say that you have everything you need in 3ds Max to model anything that you have in mind, either in low or high polygon count. All the tools in 3ds Max are geared toward building clean meshes based on quads. That is essential for good subdivision, but also for exporting to game engines. It's easy to extract faces to build complex shapes, but it's also very easy to refine models quickly by using all sorts of refinement tools. Interactive tools like bevel and extrude use in-context manipulation menus called caddies so that you can always focus on your work. But let's go back a bit and take a look at different ways to start new models in 3ds Max. First, 2D splines are easy to draw in the viewport and they can be used to model all sorts of things. You can combine multiple splines together, create surface revolutions from them, extrude them, and use the loft compound object to create much more complex spline-based geometry with clean UV mapping. And because of the modifier stack in 3ds Max, all models based on splines can be adjusted at the spline level, making this a very powerful workflow for both modeling and animation. 3ds Max also has a wide range of 3D primitives that you can start from. Primitives go from a simple plane to a complex procedural stairs, and we can't forget to mention the famous teapot. Primitives are all created interactively in the viewport, and they can be created either on the ground plane or starting from any surface in the scene. By adding all sorts of modeling modifiers to primitives, or by combining multiple primitives together using the very powerful Boolean system of 3ds Max, you can create very interesting shapes that can be refined later with more advanced polygon tools. Those polygon tools are fully integrated in the modifier workflow of 3ds Max. They are accessible at the base level, but also as modifiers. So when stacking multiple edit poly modifiers on top of each other, you can store multiple versions of the same model within the model itself, or store all increasing level of details within the model. This unique workflow is very useful for assets creation pipelines that need lots of iteration in the modeling process. That's the case for game creation and film visual effects. In polygon editing mode, you can work in freeform mode with soft selection and sculpting brushes, or work more precisely with highly customizable snapping tools. 3ds Max has a flexible unit system that makes it a good environment to model at scale, either it's in international units or imperial units. 3ds Max also offers a wide range of intelligent selection tools. Randomized selection to add details, selection by point of view to remove polygons that are not facing the camera, selection fills, and so on. But when you do quad modeling, you need quick access to loops and rings, and 3ds Max has hotkey-based selection tools that quickly selects loops and rings. It also has more sophisticated selection tools like dot ring, which is great for optimization. Speaking of optimization, 3ds Max comes with various optimization tools. ProOptimizer, for example, is great to decimate model and maintain their overall shapes and properties like symmetry, vertex color, UV mapping, and so on. There is also an optimized mode in 3ds Max where you can selectively remove loops in one click, delete edges, vertices, and reconnect the topology without ever changing mode. It's a fast and deliberate optimization method, which is great for game assets. On the other end, if you're modeling something that needs lots and lots of details, you'll need to crank up the polygon count on your model. This polygon count might just be too much to handle interactively in 3ds Max, so there's a dedicated tool in the suite that is optimized for high polygon modeling, Mudbox.
We use Mudbox for detailing the characters, adding normal maps, adding a lot of detail to the character faces and whatnot.
The approachability and artist friendliness of Mudbox is really something else. It really inspires artists to create better art. It's easy to get lost into the software and just keep on going, adding more detail that probably many people will never notice, but it's just so fun that you can't really stop.
Models are run in Mudbox from 3ds Max using the FBX file format. The low-resolution mesh acts as the lowest level of details, and Mudbox can bring up the polygon count to extremely high density by adding multiple levels of subdivisions. That's how very fine details can be added to the 3D models to make them hyper-realistic. Mudbox is a full 3D interactive environment. By that, I mean that you can sculpt and orbit around your model without having to stop and wait for processing. It's just fast and responsive. By using stamps and projection stencils, along with all sorts of sculpting brushes, Mudbox offers a very fluid workflow for refining a model until it looks perfect. In the 2011 release, a new type of brush effect called Vector Displacement Map has been introduced. This effect pushes the model not only in the surface normal direction, but in vector-driven directions. That means that you can quickly sculpt in complex shapes like ears and studs, and that couldn't be done before with a simple height displacement. Also in the 2011 release, a very intuitive posing system has been added. This is very practical for modeling in areas that are hard to reach, and it's great for creating dramatic poses for the turntable renderings that can also be done straight out of Mudbox. Because of the layer-based environment of Mudbox, all sculpting effects or sculpting steps can be stored in their own individual layers and gradually added in the final results. This allows for fine adjustment of sculpting effects and blending of multiple variations. In the end, the high-density mesh doesn't really need to go back to 3ds Max. All you need to send back are the maps for the low-resolution mesh that will simulate the effect of a high-resolution mesh. The normal map and the ambient occlusion map can be generated from Mudbox for game assets, and the displacement map can also be generated for rendering. The maps generation in Mudbox delivers high-resolution images at very fast performance. You can go visit the Mudbox community on the area to see how far you can go with this amazing tool that complements 3ds Max greatly for all modeling tasks. In 3ds Max, along with the Quick Clone tool, we have various sculpting brushes that will help artists to create morph targets for animated faces. But if you also use Mudbox for creating those morph targets, you can export sculpting layers as morph targets when using the FBX format. So both tools can be used for their own modeling strengths when building facial animations. If you have used Mudbox or any other tool like a scanner to create a high-density model and that you don't have access to the low-resolution mesh, 3ds Max has a built-in topology toolset that can recreate new geometry based on another model. Either by manually placing vertices and faces, by painting edge loops, or by painting quads directly, it's easy to create a new model that has the exact same shape as the underlying one, but with the desired polygon count and topology. Finally, with regards to modeling, 3ds Max has extra tools to populate the scene with assets and accessories. The Paint Object functionality has been introduced in 3ds Max 2011 and can be used to paint shape instances in the scene with different randomization and spread settings. It's fast to add trees, rocks, or any small details very fast. Also, the long list of import formats of 3ds Max opens many doors for getting extra content. It goes from DWG and step files to non-destructible OpenFlight databases. And since 2011, direct import of SketchUp files means that you can browse on the Google 3D Warehouse and find all sorts of free models that you can integrate into your projects. Autodesk Seek is also a great source for free models like photorealistic trees. And Cityscape is now included in 3ds Max 2011. It can model city environments by procedurally adding roads, trees, electric poles, buildings, and so on. Cities can be exported to 3ds Max using the FBX format. FBX format that you can also use to get content from Maya and Softimage if those tools are part of your pipeline.
We always have used Max for character modeling, environment modeling, lighting, and effects. We don't think there's a better tool out there.
We will usually start in 3ds Max. Then we will export that to Mudbox, for example, and do a lot of detailing. This will then be exported back into 3ds Max, where we will do all the texturing, all the surfacing, and make sure that the model is ready for final render inside 3ds Max.